The Vickers does have inherent issues. It has absolutely no armor on it, and it can even get machine gunned by planes from the top, which is incredibly annoying. The Centurion Mark 10 also has speed issues. It's not the fastest thing around the place. The Conk is the all-around package, though, and the only thing that is holding it back is its repair cost of nearly 20,000, and also the fact that it's a heavy tank, so it has heavy tank spawn points, and also doesn't get access to features such as artillery. But for me, the Conqueror is one of my favorite vehicles to play in the game. It's an incredibly good vehicle if used correctly. You pretty much have to play it in a defensive stance, let the enemy push you, and then use the APDS to go just donk people over and over again. It's not too hard to do. It's actually pretty easy to do with the Conqueror, and now with the added modification on top of it of the additional ballistic protection package, which pretty much means that these 7.7 slingers of Heat FS, you know, the STBs, the Leopards, even stuff like the M60s, have to really at least hit you twice before they can do damage to your vehicle. So that's a big plus for the Conk. So overall, I can understand the Conk going up to 7.7, even though, as I said, it has those limitations of the SP cost and also the non-artillery and non-modification, or you know, it doesn't get access to certain medium tank mechanics, but I think overall it's a very good vehicle, with only really one weak spot on the front of it when it's fully upgraded, being the cupola. And even the cupola on the top, the Commander's one, is harder to pen now than it was before and make the round explode. So I'm fine with that going up to 7.7 with the armor package. I am not okay with the Vickers and the Centurion going up to 7.7. I think the Vickers, I know a lot of people like it because of the reload. The reload's very nice on it, and also the fact that it gets smoke grenades, it has a bit of speed behind it, but it just gets crippled so much by people swinging guns or just people machine gunning it. It's just one of those horrific things that happens where, you know, you have a target on the ropes because you've used that 105, you've shot it with APF SDS, you've maybe killed a gunner and that's about it, so you have to shoot them again, and then they start shooting you with a machine gun, or then they start, you know, dropping arty on you, or maybe smoke, and it's very hard to finish a target off after, you know, you've hit it once. It's very hard to one-shot vehicles in stuff like the Vickers and also the Centurion Mark 10. So for me, what I would do is I would keep the Vickers and the Cent Mark 10 at 7.3, and then move the Conqueror up to 7.7, and also reduce the repair cost of the Conqueror to be able to compensate for it being at higher BRs. You can still run the Vickers and the Cent Mark 10 efficiently and effectively at 7.7, but I don't think they should be there because of the fact that they have the inherent issues I talked about. You could also make a baller 7.3 lineup with the Falcon as well at 7.3. But for me, I definitely agree the Conqueror going up. Just please reduce its repair cost. Its repair cost is a little bit crazy. Same with the T-32s as well, which are just insane. The Panzer III J1 is also going down. It's going down to 2.7. Is that the one with the short 50 or the long 50? Let's just have a look. It has the long 50, so it has the good penetration, also has the good reload on it, and the good gun depression. So overall, I suppose they want to try and put it at a different BR from the Panzer IIIL and the Panzer IIIM, which are all at the same BR right now. So yeah, I suppose you want separation between those, otherwise it's just like, well, why are all these vehicles the same BR if one is slightly better than the other one, and the other one is even slightly better than it? At 2.7, you have stuff like the Puma, the Marder III, and also some premium vehicles, such as the little Panzer, the Tiger 2H. It's a 2.3, but you can easily up-tier it. So that just means that becomes a little bit more powerful. Don't think it will change too much, but it's nice to see it. The Panzer IIIF is going down to 1.7, so that's once again that short stubby 50. I'm guessing that's just because the short stubby 50 is just not doing enough damage, because the 50 is definitely not as powerful as, of course, the 75 on the Panzer IVs. But pretty much when it came to the 50, what was kind of nice about it was the fact that you had this, you had this faster firing gun, but it seems like now the short barrel 75 is faster firing, so there is really no reason at all to take these Panzer IIIs over the Panzer IVs. So maybe they're trying to promote use of these Panzer IIIs over the Panzer IVs, because the Panzer IVs pretty much have everything on their side apart from a little bit of muzzle velocity, and since a lot of maps are smaller at lower tiers, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to be able to push that to be able to push the idea that muzzle velocity is a large thing. So seeing it go down, I don't think it's crazy. I think it's fine. It just means that you get to run it with some 1.7s, like the Panzer Jaeger 1, which is pretty fun, and also the SDKFC 2343. So overall, pretty good for it. The next vehicle is the T20. The T20 is going up to 5.7. T20 should have gone up a long time ago. The T20 is a machine, along with a lot of other premiums, which is very powerful at its current BR of 5.3. It also means that you can run it with stuff like the Hellcat and also miss out on that 6.7 area. With the 76mm that the T20 has, with the fact that on top of that 76mm, it also has the stabilizer on it. It was a great combo with the Hellcat and the Black Cat and everything like that. Now you're going to have to, run it with the T25, which is still an amazing combo with it. But they are putting up the T25, so never mind. But it's still a 5.7, an incredibly good vehicle. You can easily run it with the Slugger. You can even run it with the Hellcats at 5.7. You're just now putting yourself into that bracket of 6.7, which can be a bit of an issue. I'm completely fine with it going to 5.7. It's definitely strong enough to do so. Let's just hope that 5.7 stays at its own BR and doesn't get dragged up because of the changes made to the 9.0s. But it should be okay overall. The Cheeto is also going up. The Cheeto is going up, really? So the Cheeto is going up to 4.7. Have we forgotten about the Chino 2? Is the Chino 2 in this list at all? What? So the Cheeto, which has exactly the same gun as the Chino 2, has slightly more armor than it, but it is negligible and doesn't matter, and is slightly faster than it, is a whole 1.0 BR above the premium version now. I mean, I know this is just an argument for the Chino 2 being higher in BR, but I don't think the Cheeto needs to go up. I don't see that as something which is really massive. And also now you put it at the same BR as the Cheeto Late. So now it just seems a bit odd. I would definitely say that isn't required. The Cheeto is fine at 4.3, but now we have a question about the Chino 2 once again. Are we gonna not forget that it exists this week? Because the Chino 2, if you're putting up the Chino 2 also needs to go up. It's as powerful as it and is able to do as well as it in game. If you want to put it at a slightly lower BR, I can understand. Stick it at 4.3. If you're putting the Cheeto to 4.7, if you don't put the Cheeto if you keep the Cheeto at 4.3, at least put the Chino 2 up to 4.0. That to me would be a good compromise. The next vehicle is the T25. T25 is the mini Pershing. It's a very good vehicle. It's one of those vehicles which is incredibly good with the 90mm, and it has been annihilating Panthers and Tigers as it goes. It's one of my favorite medium tanks for America, and the reason for this is just because of that M82 shot, 173mm of pen. It goes through pretty much anything that you will ever need to go through at the BR that it's at, and also it means that when it's up tiered, at least it can do something against stuff such as Tiger 2s, because it has that APCR shots. You're able to penetrate, the turret of them. Even though it's not always the easiest thing to do, you can still do it. So the T25 is a great vehicle. It gets let down by its armor, but it is one of those vehicles that you just make sure, to shoot second after the first person has shot and missed, and you'll be completely fine. The T25 is very strong at 5.7, so seeing it go up is okay. I don't think it will change much either. I don't think 7.0 really is a very strong BR for a lot of nations. It used to be, but then, the British started getting moved up. The Hellcats and the Black Cats are also, and the Chinese Hellcats are going up to 5.7. Well, never mind. The T20 is still going to have the Hellcats at its back, and they'll still be fine. It just basically means that you can get up-tiered into 6.7, which I think is okay. It's not that much of a big deal. The way that you play the Hellcats in general, it doesn't really matter what you face, as long as you're able to penetrate some parts of them. And I suppose with the Hellcats, they're going to struggle against stuff like Tiger 2s. But you still will be able to get around the side, you'll still be able to fly about the place, and you'll also still be able to die and get in a plane and be able to kill the Tiger 2. So I don't really see that too much of an issue, them moving up to 5.7. They are incredibly powerful, and they also still have APCR, which can just about pen, the Tiger 2. So that's something to look forward to. So that whole 5.3 is going up. So now the Jumbos are actually allowed to have their own BR of 5.0. Good stuff. The Jumbos will come back in big leeways, which will be nice to see. The T29 is going up. Oh my god, they've finally done it. They finally said the T29 is better than the Tech Tree equivalent. This has been a wonderful list so far. I'm really, really enjoying it, because now we actually have confirmation that, the stats do back up some of the figures that we see in the vehicles. If you didn't know about the T29 is a 105mm version of a heavy tank that the Americans have. You also have the T30 and also the T34. The T34 is the Tech Tree equivalent to the T29, but it isn't as powerful. The reason is because it only has an AP round, whereas the T29 has access to the T13 round, which has APC-BC and has a HE filler. This means that the T29 can look at machines and annihilate them, whereas the T34 cannot, because a lot of the times the round will just go through and not kill, the whole vehicle. The T29 also has a better reload than the T34, and also the T34, I believe, has a little bit more armor, but not in the areas where it matters. So seeing this go up to 7.0 is wonderful. I think that's a great change, but just because it shows that Gaijin realize that the T29 is a better version of the one in the Tech Tree, and it's also better than the T30, which was of course the festive vehicle that we had before. You can still run it with a very good lineup. The M46, the Chicken Wire Express, is a very good vehicle, and also the T95, which has a crazy repair cost, but then again you get shot a lot and you don't necessarily die in a few hits. So I think running that lineup is still going to be very strong. Just means that you get up to it a bit more into 7.7, so you got to watch out for that, but overall I think that's fine. The 76W is going up to 5.0. I think that's fine as well, just because you can now just run it with the M4A2 76W as well, and also the two Jumbos. 5.0 is still going to be a very good BR because you can't get into 6.7. Yes, you'll get up to it into 5.7, but that 76mm deals with Panthers and Tigers incredibly well. So that change doesn't really change too much. The Japanese M4A3 and also the M4A3 76W is going up to 5.7 from 5.3. So this is, of course, so the HUSS. So they've just nuked the 5.3 lineup for America. The 5.3 lineup no longer exists. Now best friend is 5.7 lineup with all of the vehicles. So yeah, I mean, I don't think this makes too much of a difference. As I said, it really depends on how many people play 6.7 mainly. And if there's a lot of people who play 6.7, then yeah, 5.7 is going to suck for all of these vehicles, but I think with the Tiger being pushed down and the Panther being pushed down, the T-34-85 and the ICE-2 and the ICE-1 existing around those BRs, it will still be a very competitive BR at 5.7. I don't think too much will change. The next vehicle on the list is the Lorraine 40T. The Lorraine 40T gets up BR'd again, since, of course, giving it a ton of repair cost changes, increasing it over time is obviously not working. It's at 23,657 silver lions right now, so you got to uppity, get up there BR. And you can run it still at 7.7 with the AMX 30 1972 and all of that good stuff. The Lorraine is really good because it has great combination. You know, it's got the autoloader with the 4-second reload, it's got the speed behind this because of the wonderful wheels, and also it has really good penetration on the gun and pretty good gun stabilization, and it's hard to one-shot a Lorraine a lot of the time unless you see its central parts of it, since it can get around the maps incredibly quickly, and since it seems because of the addition of the map rotation filter, a lot of people are going for smaller maps right now. That is the Lorraine's hunting ground because it can get to positions quickly and just nuke certain parts of it. So to see it go up in BR, I agree with. The Lorraine is one of the funnest vehicles to play in game, but it's also insanely good and can be incredibly oppressive to an enemy team, so it's nice to see it go up. The M41, the Bulldog, the German one, is going down to 6.3. Let's see. Does it actually have anything to run with at 6.3? I suppose you got the Tiger 2P and the Jagdpanther, so there is, you know, a ton of vehicles to run it with. I thought it was fine at 6.7. I've been playing it, and I've just been playing it as a scout. You know, basically how I play the other Bulldogs for the other nations. The main issue with the German Bulldog is the stock shell, and the stock shell being an APCR, because, you know, that has always worked so well for so many other vehicles in the game. So to see it, you know, come into the game with an APCR stock, that hurts a lot, but the Heat FS, you know, is still pretty good on it, you know, 254mm of pen. It reminds me a lot of the T92 in a lot of ways, just a lot bigger, and a bit fatter, but if you use it as just a genuine scout until you get that Heat FS, it should be completely fine. So I kind of disagree with it going down in BR. Obviously, it's nice for people who play it, but I think it was fine at 6.7. I don't think, you know, that's a big deal for it. I suppose it stops it getting into 7.7 battles, but in 7.7 you can still be useful. You just use yourself, of course, as an out-and-out scout. The next vehicle is the M48A2C from 7.3 to 7.0. That's actually really nice to see. So the fact, when they added APF SDS to the M42A2GA2 and they updated it so much to, you know, 8.3, I always thought that was an odd decision. I didn't think the APF SDS was that strong, still had inherent issues with its stabilizer, and then they brought in the M48A2C at 7.3. And the M48 for the Americans is still sat at 7.3 as well. I always thought they were a little bit high when it came to their BRs, and mainly because of their stock grind, you know. Their stock grind is really rough on the M48s, especially the American one with the APCR shell. It just doesn't do anything. And eventually when you get it heat, when you get it fully upgraded, it's a pretty nice vehicle. But then by that point, you know, you've already researched better vehicles. And for the M48A2, because it's at 7.3, what do you run it with? Well, it's kind of alone at its BR apart from the BMP1, and you know, you pretty much run the BMP1 with the Rakuten and the Leopard 1 because it's pretty good in an up tier. So that leaves the M48A2C in a weird position where there's not a lot to run it with. So lowering it in BR, I think, is a good move. I think it's a positive move that should be done because, you know, we should promote the use of the M48s because they definitely aren't meta vehicles. So changing their BR, I don't think, is a bad idea. The only thing is, if we're going to lower the German one, the M48A2C, you also need to lower the American one, because the American one is just worse than it, I believe. I don't think, or well, it may not be worse than it, but it's either the same or worse than it, let's put it like that. And now it will be at a higher BR than it, which I definitely disagree with. They should be at the same BR if they have the same characteristics and are, you know, the same mobility, same gun, all of that stuff. The next one is the 7546 M43. It's going up to 4.7. This is another one of those tank destroyers, isn't it? And this is the actual good one with the long barrel 75mm. I'm fine with this going up. It's the only one out of the Semaventes that actually has good penetration on its gun and a decent reload and good gun depression and all of that. Still lacks, of course, because it's doesn't have a turret and also is quite beefy. But the main thing is, at least when we have a look at it, overall, I think it's fine. It's going up in BR just means that you just run it with the M4 TPO like you were doing before, and it'll be fine. It won't make too much of a difference because you couldn't even build a lineup around it. Now, at least you can build a lineup around it. Its gun's good enough to go up to 4.7. It'll be fine. The AMX-50 is also going up to 7.3. No, not my pub stomper. So the AMX-50 was a vehicle that I ran with a lot of other vehicles. So I would run it with stuff like the ML90, the MX-1390, the CA Lorraine and stuff like that. And it was always the vehicle which was incredibly good. It was just basically a slightly worse Lorraine. So now the Lorraine's going up in BR. I can understand the MX-50 going up as well, because of the fact that it is just a slightly worse Lorraine. I'm just kind of sad that it is, going up. Overall, like in the grand scheme of things, it's bad for me personally, but overall I think it's the right decision because it is a really really good machine. And also has some pretty good armor to boot. It actually angled can bounce a lot of shells. So seeing that go up, I think is nice. Lorraine 40T also going up as well. Maybe this means that the repair costs will lower at some point. That would be nice to see, but that is a bit of a pipe dream. We'll have to see how well they do in the coming months. Anyway, that is the BR changes for the realistic portion of ground vehicles. I'll probably do fleet in a separate video since this one's taken a bit of time. Overall, I agree with the majority of the stuff. The KV-1S one's a little bit weird, and also the Cheeto one is kind of a bit weird, but to see all the American 5.3s go up to 5.7 I think is a positive change. Hopefully that helps Germany out. And the T29 going to 7.0, great decision. Also, all of these premiums going up, so thank God, thank God that these are going up, because that means that now I can stop bitching about it. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Chris Giltnane, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Trigger Hippie, Eugene's Terry, and also Elove Goat and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.